Conflict, a life nearly wasted on dualism, available on Amazon as ebook and paperback. One of the curses of modern man is that most people suffer from this divided personality. It is by no means a pathological symptom. It is a normal fact that can be observed at any time and anywhere. That was a quote by Carl Gustav Jung, from Man and His Symbols. Peace be in you. Conflict is rampant in the world today, and since the first primate decided it could have that which another primate possessed, or whose position in the clan was challenged by attacking the other, that has not changed. But that is what we call the animal kingdom. The same features which govern that behavior are found in man. At that basic level, mankind doesn't lift itself above the animal kingdom by any means. As we are forced to mingle at a very young age, those primal instincts are found in our societal reactions towards each other. Bullies in school will continue to be bullies as their behavior is confirmed by their victims' responses, lending them an imaginary sense of superiority. The wardens of behavior in the school environment, teachers, further allow this feature to embed into society as they often defend such animalistic behavior by brushing it off as boys will be boys. Often, they are merely charged with curtailing the gravity of these animalistic situations to avoid being found in breach of their responsibility for their stewardship over the young collective, and as such, the endless chain of conflict continues. But this serves a purpose in life. Those who already have enough in their homes to deal with will either be pushed further back into their shells, while those who thrive on being seen as powerful are encouraged to continue to be animals towards the rest. This also determines the varying levels of education we see in society. We become what we consume. You are what you eat. That is why Christ said, "Eat of his flesh, drink of his blood, so that you become like him." I recently had the opportunity to experience this after already having learned this from various religious scriptures. I had to work with a fool of a man. I moved to a workplace where he was already working, with some knowledge of the virtues required to make a break from the crowd. It's a sick society that has to insult people to feel better in themselves. The significance of the title is attributed to the basis of human psychology. Two-faced and conflicted. Cartesian dualism implies that our experience of the world is made up of mind and matter. But this book is referring to the biblical dualist philosophy concerning good and evil. The knowledge of good and evil is actually a tree of words where the mind, in its most basic state, will see the world as a set of opposites. Sigmund Freud noticed the mind will naturally grasp at this feature of like and dislike and build things of desire and repulsion as a mode of judgment. This particularly seems to hold true at multiple levels of the personality. Peace is hard to find in the world because no one is in themselves at peace. Some have tried to convince me that the bicameral brain is at fault. The two halves making two personalities, one heavenly and one hell-like in its appearance or needs. But this is not true. Some human drives are from a higher level of need and source, while others far more rudimentary and base in their nature. I'd like to document what happened when I challenged the common view with those who propound it and explain my sources of information from which my conclusions were and are drawn. I examine the faculties of psychology, theology, and philosophy to uncover my own two-faced nature as a form of therapy, thinking that if I could explain it to myself, then writing it down for other people to understand should be fairly easy to do. As you'll see, the only problem with that is that the ego doesn't want you to understand it, and every literary source of value is merely able to point at it without naming the issue directly. I'll also be using modern film and entertainment sources to explain how they have tried to make the same suggestion, but leaving it to the state of the individual's psychology to determine if the message is even received and understood. I'll explain why some sources of culture are counterproductive, and even satanic as opposed to mere cultural output which we might not agree with as individuals. The aim of the book is to leave you with an understanding as to why a virtuous life is not only recommended but essential, especially in these times, paying closer attention to the mind since the man-made financial crisis of 2008. It isn't my aim to level blame at anyone, but rather explain why little effort and patience would go a long way in this world to save lives, minds, and society itself. I'll use Occam's razor in order to make the explanations as simple as possible, but often, the only way to explain something can turn out to be very long-winded and convoluted, owing to the manner in which other authors and philosophers have come to their own conclusions. I'll also elaborate on how I reached my true self-image to observe it, which triggered the changes I've been going through since the mid-2000s. It all started with a motorcycle accident, which seemed to jar me from normal dislocated thinking as a selfish individual, and point me in the direction of theology, philosophy, and psychology to understand the changes I had gone through. I'll explain how once an individual's most basic needs are met, everything else is just acting for other people, and for profit, and therefore entirely unnecessary and merely a monkey on our backs. To define oneself by what everyone else is doing and has done is not free will at all. It isn't being an individual. You're a part of a whole, which Soren Kierkegaard called the crowd. In his criticism of collectivism, in particular how organized religions use this feature to gather and keep followers, which he titles "The Crowd is Untruth," he details how only the individual can know the truth. He is hinting that what the Bible says in Corinthians 1:9-24, "Know you not that they which run in a race run all, but one receives the prize? So run, that you may obtain." This is implying that those who make it free from the collective mind are those who no longer need to have faith or believe anymore, but get to observe something within that changes them forever. If you follow the methods in this book, you do so at your own risk. They are not my methods but have existed for at least 4,500 years. Quote, "Monism's cultural acceptance would destroy both individual and societal purpose in life. The Eastern religions deify man, depersonalize God, make creation an illusion, and justify and promote social apathy, to name just several serious consequences, but one needs only to examine the cultures in which the concept of God as a personal creator has been rejected to see the unhappy results." That was a quote from Dr. John Weldon. How is it that Dr. John Weldon speaks in monist terms by using one in the above quote? He clearly wants to sound monist, but deny anyone else the privilege. Hasn't he heard the quote, "God sees through your eyes"?